Let us talk about the career of Bill Buckner, a very great baseball player that was remembered for one bad thing in this era that went through his legs, the ball that went through his legs. But let's start from the beginning. His just an overlook real quick. His career lasted from 1969 to 1990. He's the 21st player to play in 4 different decades in MLB history. He played for 5 different teams throughout that career, which will be talked about later. During his prime, he was one of the best contact hitters, and he was a really great fielder at first and at left field. I didn't know he played left field until doing the research for this. He had 7 seasons, which was a third of his career, where he batted 300 or over. He never had a season where he struck out 40 or more times. Baseball players today strike out 40 or more times in what seems like a month and a half. I mean, granted, it was a different time, which that's true. It was a different time. He still holds the record for assists by a first baseman in a season with 184 in 1985. When he retired in 1990, he was the fourth all-time for assists by a first baseman with 1,351, but did not play first base full-time until he was 27 with the Chicago Cubs, which when he was 27, that was the 7th season in the league. So let's just start right at the draft. He was drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers in the second round, pick 25 of the 1968 draft. Some other notable people that I saw in this draft was Thurman Munson, round 1, pick 4, Bobby Valentine, round 1, pick 5, Cecil Cooper, round 6, pick 128, Ken Forsch, round 18, pick 399, and Bob Forsch, round 26, pick 594. I thought that was an interesting thing to look at. See who were some of his draft mates that came in the league with him. In the minors, which is a very grueling thing to even make it out of the minors. He made his professional debut with the Ogden Dodgers at age 18. He hit 344. That was his batting average, with 4 homers and 44 RBIs in 64 games. The manager on that Ogden Dodgers team was Tommy Lasorda. He was about 40-ish when he was on leading that team with Buckner and Steve Garvey, I think. Yeah, Garvey and Valentine. Buckner was progressing really fast through the minors. They just shot him right up to the major league team, the LA Dodgers, and he eventually made his debut with the team in 1969, but didn't start full time until 1971. So let's look at the few things he did in 1969. He was a September call-up for him, and he had 1 plate appearance, and it was against the Dodgers. Nothing really spectacular happened. There was just 1 at-bat. I believe it was a pop-up. 1970 for the Dodgers. He started with them he was on the opening day roster. He got his first hit against the Reds on April 8th. He struggled with them with the Dodgers batting 121 with no homers or RBIs, so they sent him back down to AAA Spokane in Washington. He returned to form batting 335 with 3 homers and 74 RBIs while in Spokane, but he battled injuries for most of the year. He ended up breaking his jaw and having it wired shut and playing most of that season with a broken, wired shut jaw. That just shows what kind of character he is and how tough he was, which would be a staple throughout the whole of his career. Like before, like last year, he was a call-up for the Dodgers in September. Played pretty well. He batted okay, 257, 4 homers and 5 runs. Not that bad for a 19-year-old. In 1971 for the Dodgers, he was their right fielder on opening day. He got his first career home run against the Astros on April 6th, 1971. This was his first full season with the team. He hit 277, he got 99 hits, and in 383 plate appearances, he only struck out 18 times. That just shows, and from what I read and from what I researched, striking out for him was failing. He hated walking back to the bench in disgust. So that's why when you look at his entire career, it's high contact, low strikeout numbers, and which I will get into later, and it's a staple throughout his entire career. It's just low strikeout numbers. 1972 Dodgers, Buckner batted .319, so he's starting to blossom into that contact hitter. 348 on base percentage, a 410 slugging percentage, and in 405 plate appearances, only had 13 strikeouts. In 1973, for the Dodgers still, Buckner started to play more games at first base. They was trying to move him to first base, but he'd still play the outfield sometimes. But Steve Garvey was starting to come into his own and won MVP in 1974 and was a pretty good fielder as well. So they ended up putting Buckner in the outfield. They kept him there. He batted .275 with a .297 on base percentage, a .351 slugging percentage, and in 606 plate appearances, only struck out 34 times. 1974, he was a part of history when Hank Aaron hit his 715th home run to break Babe Ruth's record of 714. If you watch the video, he's the guy that tries to jump the fence to rob the homer. That's Bill Buckner. Buckner had a career year up to this point in 1974. He hit .314 with a .351 on base percentage and a .412 slugging percentage. He also made it to his first World Series this year in 1974. He had .250 in that World Series, but did hit a home run off Catfish Hunter. It didn't help though. They lost that game and they ended up losing the series in 5 games. He did receive his first tally of MVP votes. He placed 25th in voting. He also stole 31 bases that year. In 1974, he stole 31 bases. In 1975, he suffered a severe ankle injury, which would hamper him for the rest of his career in baseball. He could not get rid of this ankle injury. He only played 92 games this year. He had a .243 batting average, a .286 on base, a .358 slugging, and in 315 plate appearances, struck out 15 times. I'm going to take a tangent on this one. I'm not a big sabermetric guy. I'm not a big fan of like WAR and stuff like that. I usually do like the top 3, like the slash line, batting average, on base, slugging. That's just what I like to use. But I can understand the uses of advanced metrics, and I don't have a problem with them. It's just easier for me to look, and if I see a guy with great slash line, I know he's a great player. But that was just my tangent. Let's get back on track. In 1976, he got ankle surgery in the offseason to fix his ankle. He had a comeback type season though. From 75 to 76, he batted .301 with a .326 on base and a .389 slugging percentage. He also set a career high in RBIs with 60. Again, he had surgery on his ankle in the offseason. 1977, on January 11th of 77, Buckner, along with Ivan DeJesus and Jeff Albert, were traded to the Cubs for Rick Monday and Mike Garman. I think the Cubs won this trade. I think they got the better player in Bill Buckner. Granted, Rick Monday was a part of those 2 fantastic teams that went to the World Series, and I believe won the World Series. So, I think just the Cubs got a better, younger player than what the Dodgers did with Monday. But that's just what I think. I think the Cubs won the trade. The Cubs and his ankle, which ended up having a staph infection in his ankle, finalized the position where he'd play for the rest of his career, which would be first base. He finished the 1977 season with a .283 batting average, a .314 on base percentage, a .425 slugging percentage, which up to this point was the highest of his career. He also struck out 23 times in 457 plate appearances. This guy just does not like to strike out at all. 1978. This was his best year for batting. A .323 batting average, a 345 on base percentage, a 419 slugging. He also finished 17th in MVP voting. One thing that I did see, that I read, which I thought was kind of neat and was nice, needed to be told, was since he wanted to try to get everything that he could to fix the pain that was in his ankle, in his leg. So he ended up doing ballet techniques for his ankle and his leg to stay fit in the winter, because they stayed in Chicago. They wanted to stay fit and ready for next season, which he was ready for next season. 1979, Bill Buckner had his career game on May 17th with the Cubs going up against the Phillies. Buckner went 4 for 7 with a grand slam and 7 RBIs. The Cubs lost that game to the Phillies 23-22 in 10 innings. That's a freaking slugfest right there. 23-22 in 10 with the likes of Mike Schmidt, Bill Buckner. I think at that point, what's his name? Davey Kingman was on that team. Kingman was on that team. So that team was pretty good. Buckner batted .284 with a 319 on base percentage and a 437 slugging percentage. He had 28 strikeouts and 628 plate appearances. In 1980 for the Cubs, he had his best year at the plate. I said that earlier, but this was, I believe at this point so far, was his best year. 324 batting average, which led the league. He won the batting title, had the highest batting average, a 353 on base percentage, a 457 slugging percentage. He finished 14th in the MVP voting. He struck out 18 times in 615 plate appearances. It took him 114 plate appearances to have his first strikeout of the season, which was, I think, occurred in May, or mid-May, I think, was when he first struck out. And at that point, season starts early April, not the first week of April. 1981 for the Cubs. This was a strike-shortened season for Major League Baseball. But Buckner did not let that mess him up, batting .311 with a 349 on base, a 480 slugging percentage. He went to his first All-Star game this year, 1981, and was 10th in MVP voting. He led the league in doubles with 35, 16 strikeouts, and 453 plate appearances. 453 plate appearances and 16 strikeouts. 1982 for the Chicago Cubs. At this point, you have Buckner and Sandberg on the same line, on the same side of the field that I know of. I think Sandberg was there before, but I know Sandberg was at least there in 82. So that whole right side of the field is shut down at this point. You can't hit it over there. He renegotiated his contract with the Cubs, wanted to get it worked out, wanted to get a little bit more money, and put up career highs in at-bats with 607, runs with 93, hits, which was 201, which was his career high for his career, 15 home runs, 105 RBIs, and 36 walks were all career highs. He had another great year, batting .306, 342 on base, a 441 slugging, and he struck out 26 times in 709 plate appearances. 1983 for the Cubbies. He batted .280 with a 310 on base and a 436 slugging. He led the league with 38 doubles, 30 strikeouts, and 665 plate appearances. Another typical season. Low strikeouts, high contact hitter, usually around the 280 to 300 batting average mark. That's probably where his career average is, I think. In 1984 for the Cubs and Bill Buckner, he ended up losing playing time at first due to being benched. He just was not playing well, and they put in Leon Durham. Buckner only played 21 games with the Cubs, batting .209, before being traded to the Boston Red Sox on May 25th, 1984. That trade right there involved, the Cubs traded Buckner to the Red Sox for Mike Brumley and Dennis Eckersley. I did not know Dennis Eckersley played for the freaking Cubs. That was very surprising. I don't think he must not have played him for long. Must have just went from Chicago to Oakland at that point. But we're talking about Buckner. 1984, his season in Boston. He was happy to be there and to play in a new league. He wanted a new challenge, and that's what he got. He had a career game in the American League, recording his first 5-hit game against Baltimore on September 21st of 1984. Boston won that game 8-0. He finished that season with a .272 batting average, a .313 on-base percentage, a .392 slugging percentage, and in 518 plate appearances, struck out 39 times. 1985 for Boston. For the first time in his career, he played every game, every 162 games in that season. He tied his career highs with hits with 201 and set career highs in plate appearances 719, doubles 46, home runs 16, RBIs 110, and total bases 301. This was his last great season. Buckner hit .299. He had an on-base percentage of .325, a slugging percentage of .447, and he struck out 36 times in 719 plate appearances. 1986 for Boston and Buckner. This was the downturn of his career. This was the turning point. This is where his production, his health, and his ability to play started to get worse from this year until his retirement. He did collect his 1,000th RBI against the Brewers on August 21st. He hit he had a batting average of .267, an on-base of .311, a slugging percentage of .412 during the regular season. He also struck out 25 times in 681 plate appearances, so keeping those strikeout numbers really, really low. During the postseason, he hit .214 in the ALCS and hit .188 in the World Series. So he wasn't doing well, and he didn't get much opportunity because at this point he wasn't able to move like he could. His ankle injury and his health caught up to him. And then Game 6, his career-defining moment, was in Game 6 of the World Series, where Mookie Wilson hit a dribbler down the first base line, and the ball goes through his legs. Just didn't have the glove down, and it just rolled right through his legs. That lost him the game. That error lost him the game. That was the final play of the game, was the ball rolling through Buckner's legs. And any baseball fan has seen that play. Same with the Aaron homer. Every baseball fan has seen that play. And oddly enough, Vin Scully called both of them. I'm going to take a little tangent on Buckner, what happened after the World Series and all the backlash about it. He gets a bad rap about costing them Game 6. Like I said earlier, previously, his error was the final play of the game. Dykstra scored the game-winning run on that error. But Calvin Schiraldi, who came in for Clemens after the 7th, blew the game in the 8th. And then Bob Stanley, after the Red Sox put up some runs to give him some leverage, Bob Stanley gave up 3 runs in the 10th. So I just don't get it why people blame Bill Buckner when their bullpen couldn't keep a damn lead. Afterward, this is unexcusable in every sense of the word. This is baseball, it's a game, but he ended up receiving death threats from the error and would be heckled from here on out. Eventually, after his retirement, he ended up moving off to, I think it was South Dakota or North Dakota. He moved to the Northwest area, which is just get away from everything, but that was after his retirement. Alright, let's get back on to Game 7. They ended up losing 8-5. All the momentum was in the Mets' favor after Game 6. Just Red Sox, they couldn't win it after that. After the World Series, he had off-season surgery to fix his feet and his ankles. 1987, new year for Boston. Hopefully, World Series bound. Again, playoff contenders. He only played 73 games for the Red Sox. He was underperforming and was released on July 23rd. He did record his 25th 100 hit against the Royals on May 19th. 5 days later, so July 28th, the California Angels, now the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, signed Buckner to the team. He did pretty well for him, batting .306, a .337 on base, and a .432 slugging. In 1988, for the Angels still, the Angels released Buckner on May 9th. Early in the season, about a month in, he only played 19 games and had a batting average of .209. So that's really subpar for him and for really anybody. 4 days after that, so May 13th, 13th, gotta make sure on that, the Kansas City Royals signed him. He did play for the Red Sox, or no, let me rephrase that. He did play against the Red Sox while a Royal. He went 1 for 2 with a walk against Roger Clemens. He hit .256 with a .290 on base and a .209 slugging percentage. So, numbers are steadily going down. He played another year for Kansas City. He was more in 1989, where at this point we're pretty much at the end of his career. He's already been in the league, at this point, 20 years. He was more of a pinch hitter for the Royals this year than a starter. At this point, he's 39. He doesn't have much left, but he still wants to play. He finished the year with a .216 batting average, a .240 on base, and a .267 slugging percentage. Buckner was granted to be a free agent on November 13th of 1989 and was then signed to be a Red Sox in February of 1990. Now, 1990, Buckner comes back to Boston Part 2. He did receive a standing ovation in his first game back, which was great. Opening day, Buckner got a standing ovation. He hit an inside-the-park home run off of Kirk McCaskill and the California Angels, his old team, which, considering his age and his health and the way his ankles were and everything, was surprising. He ran around those bases like he did. He did not stay in Boston for long, though, only playing in 22 games for him. And in those 22 games he played, he had a .186 batting average, a .234 on base, and a .256 slugging. He was then released on June 5th. And that was the end of his career. Was a Boston Red Sox and then being released. And then he retired. In conclusion, he had 2,715 hits, 498 doubles, 453 strikeouts, and on average, he had 29 strikeouts a year. For every 162 games, he had 29 strikeouts. Well, people have 29 strikeouts in a day, or not in a day, in a month. In 3 weeks, people get 29 strikeouts. But that just shows how much the game has changed from when Buckner played for its high contact hitters. Just get on and let the guys behind you do work. Then now, from today, where it's like 3 outcomes: walk, hit, walk, homer, strikeout. Is that good for the sport? That's a different topic for another day. But in conclusion, Bill Buckner, in his prime and throughout his career, was one of the best contact hitters in the sport of baseball, and he was one of the top fielders. He was probably top 3 fielder in his time during his play. What killed Bill Buckner throughout his playing career was his ankle and his injuries. His career could have been a whole lot better if his ankles and his leg did not give out on him. It would have. It is a catastrophe, ashamed. It is every horrible word you can think of, that Bill Buckner is remembered for an error that went through his legs on one game than the way he played the game and his character through the game, after the game, and while playing the game. Baseball lost a really fantastic player and an even better person when Bill Buckner died from Lewy body dementia last year. I believe it was last year. It was really, baseball lost one of the best players in that time. But that's the career of Bill Buckner from the start of his career to the end. And what do you guys think? Do you guys think he was one of the best players from when he played the 70s to the 80s? Why? Just let me know what you guys think of Bill Buckner as a player and everything. If you guys like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, share this video with all your friends and buddies. Comment below, like I said. Tell me what you guys think. Add any more pertinent information if you can. But, yeah. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.